For a long time, people have brushed off manifestation as fantasy, something for mystics, daydreamers, or those trying to escape reality. It's often labeled wishful thinking, delusion, or luck wrapped in spiritual language. But beneath layers of scientific language and ancient intuition lies a much simpler truth. Manifestation isn't magic. It's a natural process. It works not because of blind belief, but because of how our minds and behavior interact with the world around us. What can appear mystical is really a subtle technology of consciousness that most people were never taught to use intentionally. In many ways, what you draw into your life mirrors what you consistently project. Let's start with a pattern interrupt, one you may have felt in your own life. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to get lucky? Over and over again, they think of someone, and that person calls. They visualize a goal, and doors open. Meanwhile, others affirm, journal, hustle, and still nothing moves. Is it chance privilege? Or is it frequency? Hear what they don't teach in school. Reality isn't a fixed stage. It's a field. A living, vibrating, responsive field. Made not of stuff, but of energy and information. Quantum physics has shown us that matter is just condensed energy, that particles are also waves, that the fabric of the universe isn't solid, but probabilistic, which means what you see as reality is actually a projection, a mirroring of vibrational patterns that originate inside you. And this is where the veil begins to lift. Because if reality is a field, and you are constantly emitting energy through your thoughts, nug emotions, and expectations, then you're not a passive experiencer of the world. You are a co-creator of it. Not metaphorically, mechanically. The universe, from this perspective, doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you signal. And that signal is not intellectual. It's vibrational. You cannot trick it with thoughts alone. You cannot lie to the field. It feels your coherence. Now, to understand why manifestation works, we need to step into the quantum world, where particles blink in and out of existence, where time and space bend, and where reality isn't set until it's observed. In this space, potential rules. Every possible version of your life already exists in wave form, but only one collapses into form, the one that matches your dominant frequency. This is not law of attraction folklore. This is physics. The double-slit experiment proved this decades ago. When particles were fired at a wall with two slits, they behaved like waves, interfering with themselves, creating patterns of probability. But when someone observed the particles, they chose a single path. The act of observation collapsed the wave into a particle. Meaning, your observation determines what becomes real. So now let's translate that into manifestation. When you observe your reality through lack, fear, doubt, even if you desire abundance, you collapse timelines that match your inner vibration. You are not being punished. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's obeying your signal with absolute precision. You can only receive what your system knows how to hold. This is why trying to manifest from a place of desperation rarely works, because desperation is incoherence, wanting something while believing you can't have it, scrambles your signal. It tells the field, I am in lack, and the field neutral and responsive, mirrors exactly that. But the moment your inner state aligns, when your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs operate in harmony, the signal becomes coherent. That coherence is what spiritual masters have called faith, alignment, inner knowing, and it's what the quantum field responds to most clearly. Let me give you an image to hold on to. Imagine the universe as a giant radio tower, broadcasting every version of reality. Simultaneously, every station is already playing wealth, love, purpose, healing, expansion. You don't create the music. You simply tune into the station that matches your internal frequency. If you're on the scarcity station, but trying to sing the song of abundance, there's dissonance. The music skips. The field doesn't hear your words. It hears your resonance. And that's where most manifestation teachings fall short. They focus on mindset, visualization, affirmation, all valuable tools, but insufficient if they don't create internal coherence. You can say, "I am powerful," 1,000 times, but if your nervous system is vibrating in unworthiness, you're still tuning into the wrong station. So manifestation is not just about what you think. It's about what you transmit. And transmission happens through your state, not your script. Here's the paradox. The more you chase your desires, as if they're outside of you, the more you reinforce the signal that they are separate. The field reflects that separation. But when you embody the state of already having, when you feel, breathe, and behave as if it's already true, you become a vibrational match. The field responds, not because you earned it, but because you became it. This is where science meets spirituality. What Neville Goddard called living in the end, what Abraham Hicks calls being in the vortex, and what Florence Scovel Shinn called the perfect mold, is all describing the same quantum truth. You collapse the version of reality that you feel most real inside of you. The outer world doesn't lead. It follows. So why does all this matter? Because it means you're not at the mercy of randomness. You're not a victim of delay. You're not behind. You're simply out of sync. And the moment you realign your internal signal, not with more effort, but with more coherence, the world around you reorganizes to match it. But here, the final key of this chapter. Manifestation is not a reward system. It's a reflection system. The field does not respond to want. It responds to being. And in the next chapter, we're going to uncover exactly what this field is, how it functions scientifically, and why your emotions are not just internal experiences. They are broadcasts that program the very fabric of reality. You don't need more magic. You need to understand the mechanism. Let's go there. Now, if you want to understand manifestation, not as a mystical idea, but as a scientific reality, you must stop thinking of the universe as a machine and begin seeing it as a field, not a place filled with things, but a vibrating ocean of energy, intelligence, and potential. The fabric of reality is not made of matter. It is made of frequency. And the sooner you shift from seeing the world as solid to seeing it as responsive, the faster you'll understand why what you emit is what you experience. Let's begin with the science. Quantum physics tells us that everything in the universe is energy, vibrating at specific frequencies, from the smallest subatomic particle to the furthest galaxy. Nothing is truly still. Every atom oscillates. Every field resonates. What we experience as solidity is simply density, a slowdown of vibration that our senses interpret as form. But beyond that form is a frequency signature, an invisible but measurable wave pattern that governs how that thing behaves, interacts, and exists. You have one too. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, all emit frequencies. Your heart alone produces an electromagnetic field, measurable up to 3 m beyond your body. This field is not static. It shifts with your emotional state. Coherence, feelings of gratitude, love, presence, creates a smooth, harmonious wave. Incoherence, stress, fear, shame, generates chaotic, irregular waves. And the field around you doesn't just record these signals, it responds to them. Now, let's bridge this to the spiritual. When Abraham Hicks says, "You're not attracting what you want, but what you are," she's not being metaphorical. She's describing a vibrational law that matches precisely what quantum mechanics has shown. Fields of energy synchronize. Coherent frequencies align with other coherent frequencies. Incoherent ones repel. So the idea that like attracts like is not wishful thinking. It's resonance in action. David Bohm, one of the most visionary quantum physicists of the 20th century, proposed that the universe operates through what he called the implicate order, a deeper layer of reality, where everything is interconnected in a hidden and folded way. What we experience as separate objects in the explicate order are simply unfoldings of a deeper field of wholeness. In other words, the reality you see is not all that exists. It's the part of the field that has unfolded in response to your observation and vibration. And this is where manifestation becomes inevitable, not magical. Every thought you think carries a charge. Every emotion you feel carries amplitude. Together, they emit a frequency, and that frequency interacts with the field, not by asking it for things, but by signaling which portion of the implicate order to unfold into your reality. You're not just requesting experiences, you're tuning the field to deliver them, not by chance, but by match. Now let's talk about something called wave-particle duality, one of the most fundamental principles in quantum physics. When scientists observe quantum particles, they behave like particles, localized points in space. But when unobserved, they exist as waves, clouds of infinite probability. This means reality has two modes, fixed and fluid, and your consciousness determines which one it expresses. You're collapsing the wave into form every moment with your attention, your expectation, and your frequency. This isn't abstract. Think about a moment when you were in deep gratitude, not just saying the word, but feeling it. Your body relaxed, your breath deepened, time softened. In that moment, your field shifted. You weren't trying to get anything. You were everything. And from that space, synchronicity began to appear. Not because you asked for it, because you became the version of yourself who could finally see it. This is the secret of manifestation. No one teaches. You don't manifest through desire. You manifest through vibrational permission. And permission is granted through coherence. When your field is harmonious, the field of reality recognizes your signature and responds in kind. It doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what's resonant. Let me give you a metaphor to anchor this. Imagine the universe as a vast musical instrument, and your consciousness is a tuning fork. When you strike your fork, through thought, emotion, or belief, it sends out a tone. That tone either resonates with certain strings of the universe or not. The strings that vibrate back are your reality. If you strike the tone of fear, you'll activate the strings of lack, delay, separation. If you strike the tone of wholeness, you'll activate the strings of abundance, flow, connection. The strings were always there. You simply never tuned the fork. So how do you apply this? You begin to take radical responsibility for your signal. You stop asking, "What's wrong with my life?" and start asking, "What's incoherent in my field?" You stop begging the universe for upgrades and instead align your body and mind to become worthy of receiving them energetically. Not because you earned it, but because you matched it. This is why Neville Goddard insisted on living in the end. He wasn't suggesting fantasy. He was commanding vibrational reality. When you embody the emotion of the wish fulfilled, not pretended, become it, your field shifts, and the fabric of reality responds. But most people never sustain the frequency long enough. They send mixed signals. One moment they vibrate gratitude. The next they spiral into doubt. The universe receives both and mirrors both. That's not punishment. That's precision. The field is not personal. It is vibrational, which leads us to a core truth. You are not in the universe. You are made of it. And the part of you that thinks, feels, and chooses is shaping the very quantum soup from which all reality emerges. You are not a guest in this field. You are a node within it. Your coherence is its clarity. So stop thinking of manifestation as calling things to you. Start seeing it as giving the field permission to show you what's already here. The wealth, the love, the purpose. It's not somewhere out there. It's vibrating just beyond the edge of your current frequency. And the moment your signal shifts, it appears. In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly why your signal often betrays your desires, why people who want more end up with less, and how the field isn't confused, but deeply loyal to what you're actually emitting. Because you don't get what you want. You get what you are. You've been told that you just need to ask, believe, and receive. That if you want something enough, the universe will deliver it. That desire is the engine of manifestation. But here's the raw and disruptive truth that shatters most people's spiritual illusions. You do not get what you want. You get what you signal. And most of the time, your signal is the opposite of your desire. Let's strip this down. The universe, the quantum field, does not respond to your words. It does not respond to your affirmations. It doesn't even respond to your vision boards. It responds to frequency. And frequency is a product of your dominant state, not your passing hopes. This is why someone can repeat, "I am abundant," 100 times a day, and still feel broke, anxious, and undeserving, because the field doesn't hear what you say. It hears what you are. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It's energetic mechanics. Your body, your brain, and your heart each generate electromagnetic fields. When these fields are aligned, when what you think, feel, and do are congruent, you emit a coherent signal. That signal is like a broadcast tower, sending a clear message into the quantum field. This is who I am now. But when your thoughts say one thing, and your emotions say another, when your desires live in your mind, but your body is vibrating fear, you send out interference. The signal is scrambled. The field can't respond clearly. Because you're not clear. Let's go deeper. Most people want from a place of lack. They visualize love because they feel lonely. They chase money because they feel insecure. They affirm confidence while vibrating self-doubt. That emotional contradiction cancels the signal. The field doesn't bring what you try to manifest. It mirrors what's coherent. And coherence requires emotional alignment. Joe Dispenza puts it clearly. You can't think one way and feel another and expect your life to change. Why? Because thought is the electrical charge. Emotion is the magnetic field. Together, they form the electromagnetic signature of your being. That signature is your order to the quantum kitchen. And if the recipe is chaotic, the outcome is just as scrambled. Here's an example. Imagine a woman named Laura. She spends 20 minutes each morning journaling about her dream relationship. She writes affirmations, lights candles, visualizes holding hands, feeling safe. But for the other 23 hours and 40 minutes of her day, she's vibrating anxiety, scanning for rejection, replaying old heartbreaks, checking her phone obsessively, bracing for disappointment. Her mind is in alignment, but her field is in contraction. Guess which signal the universe mirrors? Now contrast that with someone who isn't even trying to manifest love, but feels secure, at peace, and open. Their signal is coherent. Their field is expansive, and they become magnetic. Not because they chased love, but because their emotional state made space for it. That's coherence in motion. This is the great reversal. Wanting something too much often reinforces that you don't believe you have it. Wanting becomes resistance. Desire becomes distance. And your field reflects that distance back to you. So how do you shift from wanting to signaling? You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying states. Instead of visualizing $1 million, you tune into what financial freedom feels like. Not what it looks like, what it feels like. In your nervous system, is it lightness? Is it safety? Is it generosity? You rehearse that feeling until it becomes your baseline, until your body begins to believe it's already real. That's when the field starts rearranging reality to match your vibration. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." He wasn't suggesting fantasy. He was commanding frequency. When you carry the emotional signature of the desired outcome as your normal, The field has no choice but to reflect it. But this is where most people fall into a trap. They perform the rituals, but they check for results too early. That checking, is it working, sends the signal that it's not working. The field feels your doubt. The timeline collapses, not because the universe is testing you, but because your signal shifted back into uncertainty. Reality listens, not to your intentions, but to your emotional consistency. Let's use a metaphor. Think of your field like a magnet. The strength of the magnet doesn't come from what it wants. It comes from what it is. You don't see a magnet begging metal to come to it. It simply holds its charge. And by holding, it attracts. You must become like the magnet, charged with the energy of your chosen timeline, not through words, but through embodied resonance. Let's bring in the science. Your subconscious mind processes over 11 million bits of information per second, while your conscious mind can only handle around 40. That means your dominant frequency is not being generated by what you think intentionally, but by what you habitually feel. Your emotional set point becomes your signal, and that signal programs your reality. If your baseline emotion is fear, no amount of positive thinking will override that, unless you feel safe. This is why healing your nervous system is part of manifestation. Your field will never hold a signal that your body interprets as unsafe. You may consciously desire wealth, but if your subconscious equates money with stress, betrayal, or isolation, your signal will reject it, not as punishment, as protection. The field mirrors your dominant vibration, and your dominant vibration is stored in your state, not your mind. So here's the shift. Instead of focusing on what you want, focus on who you must become to match it. What would you feel like if it were already real? How would you walk, breathe, decide, speak? That version of you isn't imaginary. It's vibrationally accessible. And the more you live from that signal, the more real it becomes. In the next chapter, we'll show you how to make that shift, not just in concept, but in chemistry. We'll guide you through a quantum ritual to move from wanting into being, so that your field stops asking and starts collapsing. But first, ask yourself this: what is your signal saying when you're not trying? Because that's the reality. The universe believes. There comes a moment on the path of manifestation when something in you breaks, not in despair, but in surrender. You've visualized, you've scripted, you've spoken affirmations until your voice cracked, and still, the reality you want hasn't landed. This is where most give up. But for those willing to cross a deeper threshold, something incredible becomes possible. The shift from wanting to being. This shift is not conceptual. It's vibrational collapse. And it changes everything. Let's break the illusion. As long as you want, you are signaling separation. Wanting carries with it the frequency of absence. It says, "This thing I desire is not here." And that signal, no matter how eloquent or spiritual, is read by the field as lack. So what does the field do? It mirrors it. You continue to attract more experiences that confirm that distance. The trap is subtle. Even highly manifestors fall into it. They convince themselves they're aligned because they meditate, journal, and practice gratitude. But beneath those practices lives a hum, almost imperceptible, that says it's still not here. That hum is the true frequency. That hum is the code the quantum field obeys. To collapse a new reality into form, you must do more than imagine it. You must become it. You must tune your entire being, your emotions, posture, breath, and awareness into the state of already having. This isn't pretending. It's rehearsing the frequency of the version of you who is no longer waiting. Because the field does not respond to effort. It responds to coherence. Here's a metaphor. Imagine your desired reality is like a radio station. It's already playing somewhere in the field. You don't need to build it, find it, or ask for it. You just need to tune into it. That tuning is not intellectual. It's embodied. The version of you who has already received what you want has a frequency, a way of breathing, thinking, standing, choosing. You don't attract that version. You collapse into it. And once you do, the field reconfigures itself around your signal. Time bends, paths open, synchronicities become normal. Not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you finally stopped resisting the frequency that was always trying to reach you. Let's bring this home with a quantum ritual. This is not just a visualization. It's a timeline collapse, a shift from desiring to being. It takes only 5 minutes, but when done consistently, it rewires the signal you emit. At a cellular level, this is quantum state rehearsal. The inner collapse. Let's start. Number 1, find stillness. Sit or stand with your spine aligned. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through the nose. Exhale fully through the mouth. Do this 3 times, letting your body drop into awareness. Number 2, activate the sensory self. Now bring to mind the version of you who already lives the reality you desire. Not as a fantasy, as a memory from the future. See what they see. Hear what they hear. Feel the temperature on their skin, the weight of their body, the energy in their chest. Number 3, embody their breath. How does that version of you breathe? Is it slower, deeper, more grounded? Shift your breath to match. Let it anchor you into their state. Number 4, lock in the emotion. Now find the core emotional frequency in that reality. Is it peace, freedom, power? Let that feeling rise in your chest and amplify it. Breathe it. Expand it until your entire field is soaked in it. Number 5, collapse the timeline. Speak out loud or in your mind. This is who I am now. Let that statement land. Let it overwrite every signal of separation. Hold it until your body believes it, until your field hums with it. This is not imagination. It is energetic calibration. Each time you practice, you're building a new vibrational identity. And identities emit signals. The more stable the signal, the faster the field rearranges in your favor. You are not changing the future. You're choosing which version of the future to entangle with now. But here, where most people slip, they collapse the state for 5 minutes, then spend the rest of the day reacting to their old life. They check for signs. They measure their progress. They vibrate impatience. And without realizing it, they resubscribe to the old timeline. Not because it's more real, but because it's more familiar. The nervous system confuses repetition with truth. And you can't hold a new frequency while making emotional payments to the old one. That's why the shift must be embodied, not performed. You must walk, speak, and choose, like the version of you who already lives the manifestation. Not to fake it, but to broadcast coherence. The field is listening to your baseline, not your performance. And when it gets hard, when doubt creeps in, when nothing seems to change, remember this: the timeline doesn't shift when the world looks different. It shifts when you feel different. And keep feeling it, even when the evidence hasn't arrived. That's not delusion. That's quantum discipline. This is not magic. It is mastery. So now let's turn this into a communal resonance, a vibrational echo that stabilizes the new timeline. For everyone watching, type in the comments, "I am the field that creates." Let your future self feel it. Let your signal be witnessed. Let this be your new vibrational contract with the field. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most misunderstood keys in quantum manifestation, the observer effect, and why your awareness, when charged with emotion, literally selects which version of reality becomes solid. You've stopped asking. You've stopped waiting. You've started being. Now, let's program the field with precision. There's a truth so radical, so deeply encoded into the very structure of the cosmos, that once you see it, you can never go back to living passively again. Here it is. Your awareness is not neutral. It is creative. The way you observe the world, with emotion, with belief, with expectation, programs what becomes real. This is not philosophy. This is physics. And it has a name: the observer effect. Let's go back to the lab. In the famous double-slit experiment, a cornerstone of quantum mechanics, scientists fired particles through two slits onto a screen. When unobserved, the particles behaved like waves, creating an interference pattern, meaning they explored all possibilities simultaneously. But when observed, they collapsed into particles, choosing a single trajectory. Observation changed the outcome, not the machinery, not the environment. The act of conscious measurement, the particle's behavior, literally depended on whether someone was watching. Now ask yourself, what is your life doing when you're not observing it? And how does it shift when you start paying attention? With fear or with faith? Most people live as if they are victims of random events, forgetting that their attention is not passive. Your attention is a spotlight. It selects, it filters, and most importantly, it collapses potential into form, which means you're not just observing your life. You are activating specific versions of it, simply by how you look at it. Let's make this real. Imagine your life as a quantum field of overlapping timelines. In one, you're thriving. In another, you're stuck. In yet another, you're expanding, loving, creating at a high level. All of these possibilities coexist. The field holds them all, like waveforms waiting for one to be chosen. And the chooser is your awareness. But not just any awareness. Awareness charged with emotion. Awareness saturated with belief. When you emotionally lock your attention onto a version of reality, especially with repetition, you feed it energy. That timeline becomes more probable, more dominant. Eventually, it becomes what you call reality. But it wasn't destiny. It was a loop of perception and reinforcement. This is why cycles feel so hard to break. You observe lack, feel fear, reinforce scarcity, signal more lack, observe it again, and the field complies, not because it's punishing you, but because it's loyal to your focus. Let's introduce a principle most don't realize. Reality doesn't respond to what's true. It responds to what you repeatedly observe as true. This is the power and the danger of unconscious awareness. If you obsess over what's missing, the field collapses more absence. If you habitually notice what's not working, the wave collapses into resistance. If you emotionally amplify injustice, betrayal, or unworthiness, the field doesn't argue. It reflects, not because it's judging, but because that's how quantum mechanics works. Observation programs behavior. Now let's flip it. When you direct your attention, with gratitude, with presence, with emotional conviction, toward the version of life you want to reinforce, you begin programming the field intentionally. The signal you emit, through focused, emotionally charged awareness, is what reshapes the wave into a new particle, a new now. This is what spiritual teachings have tried to convey for centuries. What you focus on expands, not as a cliché, but as a vibrational law. The observer collapses the wave every time. So how do you apply this? First, by mastering the quality of your focus. Most people believe awareness is just mental attention, but true quantum observation is embodied. It involves feeling the outcome as real, not watching it like a movie, but living it as a memory from the future. The more real it feels inside, the more certain it becomes outside. Not eventually, instantly in the field. Second, by reprogramming your emotional filters. If you've been conditioned to expect disappointment, betrayal, delay, your awareness is contaminated. And contaminated awareness collapses contaminated timelines. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to cleanse the lens through which you observe. One way to do this is through pattern interruption. You must catch yourself mid-thought, when your mind starts scanning for evidence that you're still behind, still unseen, still unworthy, and pause, not to correct the thought, but to shift the frequency. Instead of "I hope it works," you breathe and feel into, "It's already working, even if I can't see it yet." This slight reframe upgrades the emotional charge, and the field responds. Third, and most importantly, observe your life as if it's already responding to you. When you walk into a room, expect alignment. When you send an email, feel the timeline, where it's received with openness. When you visualize your future, don't beg for it, bear witness to it. Observation is a spiritual technology. Use it on purpose. Let me give you a story. A client, let's call him Daniel, came to me years ago. In financial crisis, he had read all the books, made all the vision boards, did all the right things, but nothing shifted. Until one day I asked him, "When you open your banking app, what do you feel?" He said, "Dread." That dread was his true signal. That dread was the observer effect in action. So we built a new ritual. For 30 days, he wasn't allowed to check his bank account without first calibrating to abundance, breathing into the version of him who felt financially supported. At first, it felt fake, but over time, something changed. The numbers didn't just shift, his opportunities did. He started noticing doors he had previously ignored. The wave collapsed into a new path. Why? Because he changed the emotion of his observation. The moment you upgrade how you observe reality, the field reorganizes to match. Not with force, and not with control, but with alignment. Because here's the truth. Most forget. You are always observing. Even when you're not trying. Every belief you hold is an observation, stabilized through emotion. Every complaint you repeat is a prayer to the field. Every assumption you carry is a magnetic signature. So the question is not, how do I manifest what I want? The question is, what version of reality am I repeatedly observing? And with what emotional charge? Because that's the version. The quantum field will collapse. In the final chapter, we'll bring it all together. We will reveal how to live as the field. Not just to manifest from time to time, but to become a walking vibrational blueprint that reality can't help but respond to. A life where synchronicity is normal, coherence is default, and manifestation is no longer something you do. It's who you are. There is a moment when manifestation stops being something you reach for and becomes something you radiate. When you no longer visualize in order to get. You visualize because it's your nature to create. When you stop waiting for the world to change, because you've become the signal that changes it. This is the shift from manifesting outcomes to embodying the field. And once you cross that threshold, you don't just attract a better life. You broadcast it. Let's be clear. You were never just a receiver. You were always a transmitter. Your thoughts, your emotions, your state, they're not just reactions to reality. They are the blueprint reality follows. This means that you are not separate from the quantum field. You are an extension of it, condensed into form, animated by awareness, and vibrating into creation. So what does it mean to live as the field? It means you wake up each day, knowing the world is not happening to you. It is happening from you. Every interaction, every opportunity, every delay or acceleration. It's not random. It's entangled with the version of you that is doing the observing, the feeling, the being. You are not reacting to a set world. You are constantly recollapsing waveforms through your vibrational state. It also means you begin to walk differently. Not because your circumstances have changed yet, but because your frequency already has. You no longer beg reality to meet you. You lead it. You speak less about what's missing. You focus less on evidence. You become less obsessed with signs. Why? Because you are the sign. You are the alignment. You are the one the field responds to. This is where most manifestation teachings fall short. They tell you to focus on goals, on outcomes, on future states. But living as the field is not about chasing a new future. It's about stabilizing a new self. Because the field doesn't care about your goals. It cares about your frequency. And your frequency is not a concept. It is your embodied state of being, moment by moment. And yes, you will be tested, not by the universe, but by your old identity. The parts of you that feel safe in limitation will resist expansion. The timelines you've rehearsed in suffering will try to reclaim your focus. This is natural, but you are no longer playing at the level of thought. You're operating at the level of vibration. And vibration is stronger than memory, stronger than fear, stronger than habit. When it is made coherent, living as the field also means community, because frequency is amplified through resonance. When you surround yourself with others who hold the same vibrational standard, who no longer complain, who no longer need to be convinced, who have become what they once tried to attract, your own signal strengthens. This is not groupthink. It's coherence field synergy. One tuning fork sets the others in motion. So here is the invitation. No more trying to manifest. No more waiting for signs. No more measuring your worth by what has or hasn't appeared yet. You are the quantum field expressed through breath and bone. You are the technology of consciousness. You are the intersection between science and spirit. And when you stabilize your inner frequency, the outer world submits to that command quietly, elegantly, relentlessly, not because you forced it, because you finally matched it. Let's end with this vision. You walk through life as a node of coherent energy. When you enter a room, the frequency lifts. When you speak, timelines shift. You no longer collapse under external pressure. You collapse potential into new forms with the precision of your awareness. You don't talk about becoming magnetic. You are magnetism in motion. And you attract not what you want, but what matches your internal truth. This is the path forward. Not manifesting from lack, but broadcasting from wholeness. Not living in hope, but leading with field intelligence. Not waiting to receive, but becoming the field that creates. And if you're ready to deepen this shift, not just understand it, but live it with clarity and consistency, it's a portal, a step-by-step guide designed to help you collapse old timelines, regulate your frequency, and stabilize the new self you've begun to embody. Inside, you'll find both the theory and the rituals, practical tools to help you stay in coherence, even when your reality tries to pull you back. If this journey resonated, the next layer is waiting. You'll find the link in the pinned comment below. The world doesn't need more people trying to manifest. It needs more field leaders. People like you, remembering who they are and vibrating that memory into form. This is Quantum Manifest Hub. This is your moment. We'll see you on the other side of the field.